Here is our agenda for today. We are going to go over our weekly activity and just quickly go over what the teacher to-do list is, as well as the student to-do list. It's the same as last week's. And then Ryan will show you step by step how to implement the lesson in your classroom. So Fall Fitness Challenge, the cover with Coach Crash. And then this week we are building a stopwatch. So last week we did a countdown timer. This time it will be a stopwatch. And we want to see how long it takes us to do 5 burpees or alternatively 10 mountain climbers. And if you don't know what a burpee is or a mountain climber, it's no problem because I did not either, but we have some demo videos for you. All right, so the sort of anatomy of our activity for the week, you have the title, we have our objective, you have your code image right there on the side in case your students would like to build the code on their own and have a reference guide. We also have the code available for download directly so that you can focus more on the activity itself. Similarly to last week, we have the demo video so you can see what burpees look like as well as mountain climbers. Make sure that you are tracking your students' scores using the classroom tracker that automatically computes all the information for you. And then submit your scores to Coach Crash so that you can see yourself and your class on the scoreboard. So the teacher to-do list seems like a lot, but we try as hard as possible to make sure we have everything ready for you in one spot. Introduce this week's activity. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. Our final webinar will be next week on Wednesday at the same time. So introduce the activity to your kids, burpees, mountain climbers, record your students' scores with the handy auto calculating class tracking sheet. Make sure you submit your scores to Coach Crash. Check the fitness challenge page to see where you and your classroom is at. And then optional, make sure you tweet us at Unruly Studios, #FallFitnessChallenge. So we had a few submissions that I will show at the end, and they look really great. And we're really happy to see what students are doing in their classroom. And it's just a great opportunity to see splats in action and to see what everyone's doing. The student to-do list is much shorter. They can build or download the code directly, record their scores in their student tracker, and then optional, they can do the found art challenge to earn extra points. All right, and we're gonna get started. Ryan is gonna show you how to build the code, and we're gonna show you what it looks like. And make sure you write us in the chat if you have any comments or questions.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and grab our already downloaded Fall Fitness Challenge pack. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you can head over to the portal on our website and download it there. It's also available in a link in all the emails that you would have been sent about the Fall Fitness Challenge. And however you got it, you probably have it by now. So in addition to the pack, I'm going to pull up our app. Get the app out to get some code running.
And while Ryan's doing that, we had some teachers write in questions. So one teacher asked about a deadline for submitting scores. So just make sure that you submit your score by, did we decide on a timeline? I think by Wednesday of the following week. So by the time that the next webinar happens, make sure you've submitted your scores. We're going to get our tracker up and running this week so you can see where your school is at. We also had another question regarding, oh, let me look it up. I have to look it up.
I'm logging in, so you have a second.
Okay. I might need more than a second. We'll see.
So we're going to pull up our app to start coding our activity for week 2. In addition to that, I'll pull up the demo video. It might be a little bit hard to see / I won't even play the whole thing. But when you click that demo video link, it will bring you exactly to the time in that video that you need to see what exercise you're doing. In this case, it's burpees and or mountain climbers, if that's what you want to do instead. Go ahead and get rid of those. So this is our week 2 sheet. In addition to the code download, if you want to download that code directly, there's a demo video to tell you exactly how to do that activity. There's a submission sheet, which we talked about last week, and we can talk about again later, as well as the class tracking sheet. a quick little blurb about how to build the code, and then the code image to show you how to build it. Do you have that question too, Anne, or do you want me to get started?
I do. All right. So we had good news is I spoke incorrectly. You can submit your scores anytime before the deadline of November 25th. And then another teacher asked, do I have to submit the score forms in order to participate? So you don't have to. You can still participate in the challenge without ever submitting the weekly scores, although you're much less likely to win the golden splat that way. And another teacher asked, how do I send photos? So you can send us photos or screenshots over email or on Twitter by tagging Unruly Studios. Both options are worth 1 point. So you can email us directly or tweet us.
Absolutely. All right, let's get building here. So this week's activity is to see how fast you can do 5 burpees. In order to keep track of that, we have 2 splats. You press 1 splat. In this case, it's splat 3 to start the stopwatch, and then splat 4, or start the stopwatch with splat 3, and then stop the stopwatch with splat 4. And that makes a little bit more sense when you think of the code in the context of all of our other activities that will use splat 3 and 4 for this week's code. So when the program starts, we want to light splat 3 and 4 with the colors red and green to show that they are the start and stop buttons. Red and green for 3 and 4. And then very simply, when splat 3 is pressed, we're going to light it with yellow. We're going to do that by duplicating our block we already used. We light it with yellow so you can see that it's been pressed and you know that your stopwatch has started for you. So that's a when splat 3 pressed. In addition to turning the splat yellow, we're going to play a sound so you know for sure that your exercise has started. We're going to use the classic ref whistle, which is a sports sound.
A quick interruption, Ryan. You swapped the red and the green. So splat 3 green,
did.
splat 4 red.
Always good to double check, and we would have had to catch that when we tested it out. Green and red. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So green turns into yellow, and then it plays a ref whistle on splat 3.
Splat 2.
Nope, this is splat 3. So splat 1 is week 1. Week 2 is splat 3 and 4 because they're a pair next to each other. And then week 3 is actually splat 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, but we're on the second week.
Correct. So week 3 uses splat 2.
Okay.
And then week 2 uses splats 3 and 4 together.
Okay. So
that way they're next to each other in the command center here.
Oh, there's just that. So we would need to correct that in the PDF itself. It says splat 2 ref whistle.
Oh, okay. That's actually not a huge deal. On that block, if it's playing the sound out of splat 2, that just means that that splat would make the sound instead of the splat that you pressed. But yeah, that's a good catch there. Okay. The program still would work mostly the same way. So we light the splat 3 with the color yellow. We play sound ref whistle on splat 3. If it was set to splat 2 accidentally, it doesn't hurt too bad. Then we set the stopwatch to 0 just to make sure it sets itself over. So set stopwatch to 0, and then we start the stopwatch. We set it to 0 first so that you can use this code over and over again without having to rerun your code. So once you hit run, you can keep using the 3 and 4 splat over and over again to track start and stop of the stopwatch.
Ryan, one of our viewers just caught another little mistake. We should set when program starts to 3.
Yeah, so that when program starts, I have it there as a 3 so that it shows that it's like the third section of the code. That actually doesn't make a huge difference in the way the program executes. So if you have when program starts 1, 2, and 3, they all start at the same time. It just is kind of a way to keep track of them. So if you look at our final combined code image, this might help it make a little bit more sense.
Ah, I see. All right.
So I'll expand this a little bit right here. So the one that we're doing today is this rightmost one, which is light splat 3 and 4, and then use splats 3 and 4 as a start and stop button. In the final week, we'll use that splat 2 finally to get the countdown from 30. So as the whole challenge culminates on week 3. You'll have Splat 1 doing your count from 10. You'll have Splat 2 doing your countdown from 30. And then Splats 3 and 4 are your start and stop buttons.
That makes a lot of sense. But thank you, Cassidy. Good eyes.
Yeah.
Eagle
No,
eyes.
that's a good catch. And that's one of those things. I did it here so that it's a little bit clearer when it's all laid out, but when you do each individual week, that can be a little bit confusing. Again, in the pack, there's a little picture to show you what that final week will look like. Splat 1 is our count from 10. Splat 2, which you'll do next week, is your countdown from 30. And then Splats 3 and 4 are your start and finish buttons.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good clarification point. So after we start the stopwatch, we'll be on Splat 4. So we can go ahead and duplicate this whole block right here. And I'll bring up our code image again. We're on week 2. So on our right-hand side, we're going to have, just to make this a little bit bigger, Splat 3 lights the splat yellow, plays the ref whistle sound, and then sets the stopwatch to 0, and then starts the stopwatch. Splat 4. Splat 4 will light Splat 3 with color green to show that it's restarted. So this is Splat 4 pressed. And then play the sound ref whistle. This could be on both splats. If you wanted to make sure it was heard, you could duplicate this block right here and say Splat 3 and Splat 4. But in the code that you'll download, it'll just be on Splat 3. We don't need to set it to 0 again because we're ending our stopwatch. So we get rid of that block. And then we set this to stop startwatch. Stop stopwatch. So let's go back over this to make sure we didn't miss any of those little things. Let's set this to 3 just so it matches what our code download would have been. When the program starts, light Splat 3 with color green, light Splat 4 with color red. When Splat 3 is pressed, turn it yellow for a second to show you that the stopwatch is running, set the stopwatch to 0 with some sound, and then start the stopwatch. Once you've done your 5 burpees, you press Splat 4 to stop your stopwatch and see what your time was. So let's give that a test.
I'm going to do little mountain climbers with my...
Yes, you can imagine yourself doing the 5 burpees. Should be difficult in our Zoom meeting.
My natural athleticism is really shining.
Yes, my camera would probably shake a little bit too much if I took that on. But let's say we stop right about here. When you press Splat 4, makes another ref whistle sound and turns that Splat 3 back to green. And again, you don't actually have to start the program over again. You can just keep using it and track your scores every time you stop. And that's it. That's our code for week 2.
Did you see how many burpees I did?
I didn't catch how many hand burpees or hand mountain climbers there were.
It was 50.
So let's pull up our 2 documents that we might need to track that. So just for the code part of the video, this is where our code ends. We have our starting, start the stopwatch, stop the stopwatch, which matches our sheet. Once you've done your activities, you need to keep track of them. So you got to pull up our week 2 tracking sheet, keep track of your student, the number of attempts that they make to get their best time, and then the highest or shortest time that they end up with. These 2 green cells will auto-populate with the 2 numbers that you need to submit. And then your week 2 submission form is yellow, just like you did in week 1. Name, email, etc., etc. Upload any of the fun things you have, and then don't forget to tweet about the Fall Fitness Challenge.
All right. Speaking of tweets, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen for a second.
Yep, I'm going to pass this over to 2N. If you have any questions about that code or something wasn't clear during this little video, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's what we're here for.
All right, so we had some teachers tweet us some great action shots. Let's see, share my screen. And all right, can you see the Twitter feed?
Looks pretty good.
All right, so this is the Unruly Twitter feed. We had first Coach Kevin Terry. He shared with us this great video of his kids doing the air punches all at once. And so he was able to track them in the moment. And he had the students just tell him one by one, I assume. So that's a great way to, if you have students who are at all like the students I used to have, it, getting them to do anything and like have follow through sometimes could be difficult, and having them turn in forms. So a great way to address the number of attempts your students make is just do it together. And we also had another coach showing us some furious air punches. His students coded the code and then they wanted to see how many air punches he could do in 10 seconds. I mean, I can't beat that. I can't beat that. So it was really great getting to see splats in action. So make sure you're tweeting at us. Make sure you send in photos. Not only is it great for you because you get points, but it's great for everyone else participating because we get to have a sneak peek into your classroom to see what you guys are doing. And it's always just a lot of fun to see students having fun with the splats. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so thank you for indulging me. I was just so happy when I saw those tweets.
Yeah, Kevin's gym is amazing down there.
All right, so that was it. The code is very simple. And then we hope you have a lot of fun. Let us know if you have any comments or questions. Again, my email is, let me share my screen.
I got it right here if you want me to.
Oh, perfect. My email is chuan@unrulystudios.com and then Ryan@unrulystudios.com. Ryan will be available for the rest of this week. And then I can answer any questions you might have about the Fall Fitness Challenge. So make sure you email me, or some of you might know Emily. Feel free to email Emily as well.
Yep, and if for some reason you email me, it should find its way to someone eventually.
It will find its way.
Okay, yes, it's a much easier code this week, and we didn't have to talk about quite as many things. So that's, I think, everything.
Yeah, so thank you, Cassie, again, for those eagle eyes. That was really helpful. Make sure you send us any questions, any photos, anything you might want to talk to us about. We are here and we are here to help.